Kaja Israel, Kaba Egypt, Kaja Ethiopia, Kaja Sudan, Waja Shong. Kaja Ikushima, you know, Wani me kona me Waja Shong. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, you know, Waja Shong. Waja Jake, Waja Shong. Manchester, no Sumanguru, you know, walk where you get, what you show. Cause that to do, you know, Pamasa, you know, Yasan, you know, what you show. Kaja Israel, Kaba Egypt, Kaja Ethiopia, Kaja Sudan, what you show. Akwaka, Bachimo, one year, Afo, Karacha, I catch my 1 year, and a young fan. Akwaka, Bachimo, 1 year, Afo, Karacha. I got you 1 year, I'm a young fan. I'm a Caminian Matu, I'm a Cat on young Motu, I'm a Cat on young Watumo. I'm a Caminian Matu, I'm a Cat on young Motu, I'm a Cat on young Watumo. I'm a Cat on young Watumo, we not a time, catch my walk, Banya. Can you change inside your mama? Can you change inside your mama? Can you change inside my mama? Can you change inside your mama? You mama me. What you need,
Araba, there are some people at the door. Go and tell them I have traveled to Russia.
Yes, Daddy.
Where's your father?
My father said I should tell you he has traveled to Russia.
Your father has killed me. I sent him money from America to complete my house for me.
Are all student association contributions?
Even the money from the fundraiser for Kweku's surgery.
Oh! He too? Don't be a victim. If you're contributing to a project, alumni dues, or any public campaign, Chango is your best choice. Chango keeps track of all donations and gives you the power to know exactly where the money goes. Chango is approved by Bank of Ghana. Call 0270-066-614 or visit changoapp.com for more information.
Uncle, my father is hiding under the bed.
Oh, Araba.
Chango for your groupings and crowdfunding.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada dada. And then he left go menu. My son, this is a setup. You was Spain, oh yes. Spain most any sicker free ha. Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a man of a baby family. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? Charlie, it's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, also don't send it. Don't take e-levy. No, on tap send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada. Plenty places in Europe, you can send your money through tap send to Ghana, and please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a clan talk. Reggae man of a pack. It's tap send.
At Diaspora Insurance, we understand the importance of dignified send-offs within Ghanaian culture and traditions. We also understand that you want to avoid the double trauma of your family grieving and not having the financial support to cover funeral expenses when you're not around. With our Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, you can now cover yourself or your family in Ghana or abroad. with no medicals required, will accept you if you are under 75 years. Visit our website today or call us to complete a simple form in under 5 minutes. With Diaspora Insurance, your peace of mind is guaranteed.
Good evening. Welcome to this evening's edition of the Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum. My name is Nana Kwesi the First, Atrimahini of Ahanta Traditional Area and the Diaspora, and the Chairman of Ghana Union, UK. Tonight, we are here to talk about a topic which we all have interest in, how we can drive development to our areas back in Ghana. And we are privileged to have been given the opportunity to do so with the support of IT Consortium, all your IT needs, all your financial securities, and of course, Chango, platforms that you can tap in with your groups, with your associations, as family, as friends, to pull together your resources for the good of our country. That you can do things as a old student association. You can come together and everybody chip in a bit to build Mother Ghana and other parts of the country that we so well have dear in our hearts. We also have the support of TapTapSend. TapTapSend, your #1 money transfer company to Ghana, free of charge, and at the tip of your finger, the money is gone, safe, delivered, and in the hands of your recipient. We also have Diaspora Insurance. For those of us in diaspora, repatriation, for family and friends, this is the one insurance company that does it for you. And at the end of it all, your money is given to you and you can go and put your dignified family in a respectable manner. This program is put together with the cooperation of Ghana Nurses Association, UK, the Western Region Association of Nurses, UK, the Ghanaian Nightingale Association, UK, and of course, the Mother Union, the Ghana Union, UK and Ireland. We have the endorsement of the Ghana High Commission to broadcast to you live information, education, and making sure that anything that we can share together as a community in the diaspora, you can be part of. We thank the help of Omega Live TV for broadcasting this live. And of course, this program is being televised on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Today, we have a few rules, as I'm sure most of you would know. You will not be allowed to unmute yourself until you are asked to do so. There will be some question and answer sessions coming up at a later stage where you can ask all your questions, so please get them ready. And we have experts tonight who will come and talk through issues that, give us opportunity to do so when it comes to Q&A. Please do not attempt to share any videos with us, as you will not even be allowed to do that. And one question at a time. Please use the Zoom icons and raise your hand, and you will so well be called when the time is due. Most of you have been part of our broadcast, and you have been receiving this. Our hope is that you share with your family and friends so they can be part of gaining this knowledge that we disseminate as a community. We have a distinguished panelist today, 2 panelists, of course, but for now we have with us a panelist who is distinguished in the field and will talk us through tonight all the things that we need to know when it comes to how we are going to mobilize our resources through crowdfunding to generate funds across the world for Mother Ghana's interests and for our own particular interests that we have. It could be a charity, it could be a school you want to build, it could be old student association, it could be a specific project that you want to do. And this is what will help you to realize those dreams that has been hidden away for a good number of years. I have a singular honor to introduce to you our panelists, our first panelist tonight, who in various spheres of work has engaged in a number of activities that has given him the opportunity to gain knowledge, experience, and expertise to talk to us tonight. Without much ado, please join me as I welcome to the forum Kwame A. Opon, who is the head of FinTech and Innovation of the Bank of Ghana. Chief, please, you're welcome to tonight's forum.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Our forum ran quite seamlessly. You just have to go ahead with your presentation, and at the end of it all, we will be back with you with Q&A. We will also have another panelist at a later stage to join us from our own community. Tap Send, the head of Africa, the director of Africa, Mauto Abrahams, will join us at a later stage after our big man has delivered his part of the conversation. So, Mr. Pong, please, I'm sure you are here to do us good and share with us all the knowledge, and therefore your audience are listening to you now. Please take over.
Thank you very much. And it is my pleasure to be with you as well. I think over the years, we have all sought to find ways and means to try and support family back home. And the diaspora community has been very impactful, especially in challenging times, to support the Ghanaian economy as they support family and friends back home. So today I'm going to try and make this a bit less formal, so there are no presentations unless necessary, but to really have a conversation with you about the two key areas that I think you should know about. The first will be on remittances, inward remittances, and the second being crowdfunding. When it comes to the idea of remittances, I think this is something that has really been a part of our society going back perhaps even before independence, as we all know. However, as times changed, the constraints that had been in place for sending money back to Ghana had slowly been chipped away and chipped at. One in particular is the issue of cost, for instance, of sending money back home. So you would notice recently that due to a few changes and perhaps the emergence of various service providers along the value chain, the price of sending money back to Ghana has reduced a bit. Secondly, you would also notice that whereas in the last perhaps 20, 30 years ago, sending money meant you send money to someone either through their bank account, takes a while for them to receive it, or you send them money through an agent's point somewhere in the country in which you are, and then you give them a code, they go to a bank branch where there's an agent for that particular service provider, they go and collect these money, and then that's it. But there's always that challenge of costs, of transportation, time, convenience, etc. It's actually interesting to really see how far we've come, in the sense that today it is much easier. You send money and near instantly, the recipient has it in their mobile money wallet or bank account. And this is something that I took note of the ad that Tap Send had, and you played before the session began. And as recent as these things are, I don't think it's the end of it. You're going to see an increasing effort towards innovating to bring costs as low as possible and to bring more efficiencies in how your remittances are delivered back home. In particular, you may also notice that as time goes on, the central bank will continue to work with stakeholders, particularly banks and fintechs and money transfer organizations, to even go a step beyond just delivering money to people. Because often, many of these remittances are intended for specific activities or specific purposes, such as savings, construction, school fees payment, purchases of equipment or household items for friends and families back home. And these are the ideas that we continue to see various innovators considering and bringing before us. And we welcome them and continue to work with them on that. I would also mention that another dimension to that specifically is the issue of remittance-backed financial services. Now, as you know, living in the UK, having access to financial services in the way that most developed countries do helps enhances the livelihood and the self-reliance of individuals, and even the overall economic well-being of individuals in society. But as a country, we are not quite there yet. I think we still have a bit of work to do, and we still have some journey to go. However, if we start to explore a bit more around remittance-backed financial services products, such as insurance, pensions, savings, or whatever it is, these flows that are coming in are documenting the financial transactions and footprints of the recipients. It is documenting and creating a footprint of information that can be used to assess them, because I think all of us are aware that one of the fundamental reasons why financial services are much more available in developed markets is the issue of information. Banks and financial service providers have typically struggled to have access to such information in order to make decisions on how to support individuals by accessing financial services to them. While on one hand, we see within the jurisdiction efforts by innovators to create alternative mechanisms for delivering things like credits and insurance, savings, particularly group savings, and then informal sector pensions. I think channels such as remittances are helping drive a lot more activity, which would ultimately build information around these recipients who may live in our rural areas and may be financially excluded, to help them come into the formal financial sector. So perhaps when they need the additional support to either put into the entrepreneurial venture or even start something by themselves, they can access financing from a lender or a financial service provider within their locality or at a national level, given that now these financial services are often digital. And so you're seeing people live far away, be able to access credit from service providers here in Accra. And so that journey will continue. And I think for us as a central bank, we continue to be committed to making this happen. We also are mindful that not everything often goes as intended, and that is only a fact of nature, and I think also of the human existence. And so to ensure that our efforts to further develop these channels and these opportunities are not hampered by unexpected and undesirable outcomes and actors, we think it's important that whatever we're doing as well is well protected and in line with international best practices, so that someday we are not at risk of either being grey-listed or blacklisted, and we have to go back to the days where sending money was much more expensive. Transaction flows have to be scrutinized a bit more and introduce unnecessary burdens on us as we try to fulfill very basic social and economic responsibilities to our friends and families back home. In that light, we, for instance, took a step beyond the existing regulatory framework to say we're seeing emerging players in the space, in the broader payments and financial sector, who seem to be adding convenience and efficiency to the value chain, and making it easy for people to send money home in many ways that adds value. So how can we help them? And so we introduced a guideline for inward remittances for payment service providers and mobile money operators. And those guidelines effectively define how these new entities can safely partner with money transfer operators internationally, have a bank partner, and facilitates inward remittances to support local needs. Now, with all of that, we've also sought to make sure that some key areas are addressed: where the money is going, who the money is coming from, issues around the risk of AML, CFT, so avoiding money laundering, and perhaps the involvement of terrorists in leveraging these new flows and these new channels that are helping us a lot. And so we've tried to make sure we put the right framework in place to safeguard against these things, while at the same time, on an ongoing basis, be able to monitor the local entities who are involved in this, so that you on the other side of the pond can have the opportunity to continue to enjoy these transaction flows and the additional benefits that it has for your friends and family here in Ghana. And of course, for us as government, it also has an impact on us overall in the overall economy. I would also want to mention that issues around consumer protection is very near and dear to our hearts. And it's not just consumer protection at the Ghana level, which is important to make sure that when people are receiving these funds, they are not being duped, they are not being led into scams, they are not being billed of too much in terms of fees, perhaps that they are not even supposed to pay. So we've also tried to incorporate into these guidelines some basic rules and requirements to ensure that consumers are protected on this side. And equally, we take a view of what's happening on the other side of the channel to make sure that you as brothers and sisters in the diaspora, when you are sending money, you are not being put at risk. We recognize that the journey is by far not where it needs to be. I mean, you look at certain realities, such as some of our citizens who live in countries where perhaps their documentation might not be sufficiently where it needs to be for them to be able to actively participate in this channel or take advantage of these opportunities, or even some of our own citizens who may be in countries where they may be subjected to some challenges as a result of security issues and instability. Their ability to send money back home is often hampered. And those are challenges that we continue to work with various partners to see how we can intervene. And this is an area that I think most of the service providers that you're familiar with, every now and then partner with various third-party and development agencies to see how we can find an appropriate way for them to fulfill their responsibilities to family and friends back home. So this is really at a high level what is happening here in Ghana and what is happening on the part of remittances. It is fascinating to see that last year, there was about $4.7 billion in inflows into Ghana from across the world. This is significant. And you can imagine if we can find additional means and mechanisms to simplify the ways of getting money safely and legally into the country, the impact it could have on our economy overall. And so I continue to encourage every one of you to explore some of these avenues of sending money back home, and also engage the central bank and other functions to share your thoughts as to how you think we can continue to advance this important aspect of our social and economic lives. So without I suppose Q&As will come afterwards. And so I will take a quick pivot and perhaps talk about crowdfunding as well. As you know, crowdfunding is not really, at least in my opinion, and frankly, our opinion as a policy institution, we don't really see crowdfunding to be something that was imported into our environment. We all know the idea and the concept of susu. We all know the idea and the concept of nobwa. We even know the concept of ntobwa, which has been in Ghanaian society for as long as we can all remember. In fact, it's not just Ghana. If you go around the African continent, you're going to hear several ways in which these ways of contributing to support economic and social objectives are described. Ma round, they have all kinds of wayupata, depends on where you go. That tells you that it is as indigenous to our continent as anything else. Now, before there were all these GoFundMe and the rest, we lived this way. In fact, before there was credit, in our environment, where there were no credit reference bureaus, in the villages and in these small communities, lending to neighbors, friends, and family was building your credit, because that was social capital that allowed them or allowed you to be able to also tap into someone else's resources should you find yourself in times of need. What that means is we had an obligation as a central bank and as a policy institution, particularly one that is looking at exploring emerging digital financial services channels, to see how we can really create new opportunities and safe ways for us to continue to contribute to support our own, friends, families, and social groups. It's fascinating to know that apparently one of the biggest groups on WhatsApp, according to the data, some of the biggest groups are old school groups and religious groups, so church groups, etc. That just tells you what our lives are about. This is fundamentally us as a people. And so we introduced a crowdfunding policy. That said, we have in our character the intent to support one another. How do we ensure that that support can be given without subjecting our own selves to risk, without being taken advantage of either by service providers who may be unscrupulous, unlicensed, and unregulated, or our own friends and family who take advantage of us as a result of our well-intentioned efforts to support a cause of some sort. I also want to mention that when it comes to the issue of crowdfunding, there are two ways of actually undertaking it. I've just described the donation-based crowdfunding, and that's where I will keep our conversation limited to today. There's a second part of it to crowdfunding that has to do specifically with investing in businesses, small enterprises locally. The Securities and Exchange Commission, our partner and colleague agency, is also working on that part of it to further bolster the policy that the central bank has put out and ensure that crowdfunding of all nature, whether donation or equity-based, is supported within the Ghanaian legal framework. So that if you need to embark on an effort to either contribute to payment of someone's medical bills, contribute to payment of funeral expenses, contribute to the payment of children's education, you're able to do that in a very safe way. I think recently, one of the things that I took note of on the internet is a bit of a spike in activity around the Wesley Girls High School old students speech day activity. I think it's about a couple of weeks ago. For me, it was fascinating to watch particularly as they embark on an effort that has apparently been going on for a couple of years now to support their alma mater. I know similar institutions who day in, day out are setting up crowdfunding accounts on licensed platforms to mobilize resources to support their old schools, secondary schools, universities, etc. This is commendable, this is great, and let's be frank, it also helps alleviate the burdens on government. And so these are the kinds of efforts that we continue to look at and explore. So as consumers continue to patronize the digital form of an activity that we've always had in our society, we are also trying to meet you halfway to ensure that whatever model is in place or whatever service you're getting access to, you're not being put at risk. So Chango mentioned that it's, I think in the ad I saw, it also perhaps makes the reference to the fact that it is licensed by Bank of Ghana and is approved by Bank of Ghana. It is true. And there are several crowdfunding policies that we have approved of. Now, what that approval means is very simple. All we're really saying is, let's make sure that as people subject themselves or willingly choose to participate in a crowdfunding effort, let's make sure that their data is protected, that after they are donating to whatever cause they choose, whether social, economic, political, let's make sure their data is secure, it's private, and it's not abused. That's very important. Your data belongs to you. It is your right. And if you don't give access to anyone to use it for anything other than what you have authorized them to use it for, it is important that that is preserved. Secondly, it is also important that we look at the governance of it. And this is the more fascinating element. Often as people come together to willingly contribute towards a cause, you unfortunately sometimes find a few characters that are a bit too creative for their own good. And so either they are the lead persons coordinating the mobilization of funds, and somehow, some way, either midway or at the end, it would appear as though the accounting has gotten a bit creative, if there are any funds at all left for the purpose for which the crowdfunding account may have been created. In fact, there may also be instances where you come together as a group of friends, family, old school colleagues or work colleagues, or even work groups in diaspora. I heard the Ghana Nurses Association in the UK. Sounds like it's a very strong association. That's something quite commendable. Such groups can come together to contribute, to support either their colleagues back home or whatever efforts they want to support with. But you often find that, unfortunately, while this well-intentioned process is ongoing, you have people either taking advantage of the process and disrupting the whole chain of events that leads to a breakdown of that. And this is not unusual. This happens every time. So could we, through that process, ensure that the service providers who are going to offer you these services can at least put a certain governance process in place? So you choose who is your leader, as you normally do outside a digital platform. You choose what kind of accountability process you want to put in place. And if the service provider has some recommendation based on what their platforms offer you, you can adopt those to make sure that the lead person doesn't wind up disappearing with the funds or somehow accessing the funds without the group's explicit authority, or even the members of the group or any member of the group colluding or conniving to, again, take advantage of the mobilized funds to the detriment of other contributors. Finally, another area of concern that I should mention has always been around the issue of money laundering and terrorism financing. I think living in the UK, you are very familiar with the importance of things like this. And similarly, we're all subject to these global standards. And so our efforts is always to make sure that we're observing that as well. Because things like crowdfunding, while they are a great opportunity, and frankly, with crowdfunding and inward remittance, while they are a great opportunity to drive traffic into and funding and economic support, it also could be a channel that is leveraged by illicit actors. And sooner or later, we could find ourselves in a bit of a precarious situation. And so the rules that are around these product offerings are intended to safeguard the consumer and to protect the market as well. And by consumer, I mean both the beneficiary and the contributors or senders. And that is what really our intentions have always been, while we also ensure that we help promote the digitization opportunity that we have to bring more efficiency, lower costs, and opportunity to friends and family who may need the support that we can give them. I should also mention, before I briefly suspend my remarks, that the idea of crowdfunding in Ghana has infinite potential, particularly for those of you who live abroad. The challenge that you often encounter, whether it is sending money for a certain purpose, construction, all these problems, it appears as though, at least from our assessments, if these concepts are patronized, they may have the opportunity or have the potential to help you address those constraints that you have. I think we all remember stories of people contributing to housing construction and showing up in the country, and there's not even a hut for them to point to and say, this is where my funding went. Those are very heartbreaking stories to hear. But unfortunately, they're also real. And so as we continue to see various innovators who perhaps take the cue from you or are taking responses from you to think through and build products, we also are increasingly thinking of how we can support them and meet them halfway so that some of these ideas can come to market safely. And you, particularly in the diaspora, can also help take advantage of it and help the economy back home to a large extent. So, Mr. Moderator, I'll take a pause here and perhaps give a bit of time for anyone to ask any questions that they may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a very detailed, update from your perspective as to how we move forward. We will take a few-minute break so you can get yourself a glass of water. I've seen some hands up, but we're also waiting for our second panelist to join us. We will either do that straight after we come back, or we will go to Q&A so that he can come and continue after. We are aware he's on his way in traffic, and obviously in UK you can't be video calling or video whatever. Okay, I'm told he's on now, so that should be fine. We'll take a few seconds break and we'll come back, and then he will continue while we all put our questions ready for the panelists. We will come back to you.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada dada. And then he left go menu. My son, this is a setup. You was Spain, oh yes. I Spain was any secret free, huh? I go Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a man of a baby family. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, also don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on tap send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through tap send to Ghana, and please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's want to take a clan talk. Reggae man who for back. It's tap send.
Araba, there are some people at the door. Go and tell them I have traveled to Russia.
Yes, Daddy.
Where's your father?
My father said I should tell you he has traveled to Russia.
Your father has killed me. I sent him money from America to complete my house for me.
Are all student association contributions?
Even the money from the fundraiser for Kweku's surgery.
Oh! Too? Don't be a victim. If you're contributing to a project, alumni dues, or any public campaign, Chango is your best choice. Chango keeps track of all donations and gives you the power to know exactly where the money goes. Chango is approved by Bank of Ghana. Call 0270-066-614 or visit changoapp.com for more information.
Uncle, my father is hiding under the bed.
Oh, Araba.
Chango for your groupings and crowdfunding.
At Diaspora Insurance, we understand the importance of dignified send-offs within Ghanaian culture and traditions. We also understand that you want to avoid the double trauma of your family grieving and not having the financial support to cover funeral expenses when you're not around. With our Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, you can now cover yourself or your family in Ghana or abroad. With no medicals required, we'll accept you if you are under 75 years. Visit our website today or call us to complete a simple form in under 5 minutes. With Diaspora Insurance, your peace of mind is guaranteed.
And so welcome back again, my audience. This evening, we have been going through ways and route regulations and other applications that we can use to crowdfund for the development of our mother Ghana and for the interests of areas that we are keen about. We also have in our midst our very own Darrell Mauto Abraham, who is the head of growth in Africa, Tap Send. Mauto is the one that has been behind us bringing you this program every 2 weeks and every other as and when we are able to. But as you can see, without the help of these people, we wouldn't be able to reach out to you. So Mauto, we are very grateful and we thank you for your service to Ghanaian community. Tonight, we are here to talk about crowdfunding. I'm sure this is one of your areas that you are very interested. And so I was not surprised when you accepted that you'll be joining us. So please take over. We will come to Q&A by the time we finish with the two panelists, and then everybody can have a chance to speak.
That's fantastic. A very good evening to you, Nana Kwame, and thank you very much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So a big thank you very much for that. If you don't know me, you haven't met me, my name is Darrell Koku Mauto Abraham. I am a son of Peki. I was born at Teddy's Military Hospital. I lived in Medina all my life. I went to Presec, and then I went to Legon, and then I spent the last 20 years working and living in London, and I happen to be the growth director for Africa for Tap Send. And good to meet you all. And Kwame is one of the people we talk to in Ghana quite a lot. So good to see you, Kwame. We've had many conversations and we'll continue to have many conversations by the nature of the jobs we do. So it's great to see you on and share a platform with you. So for those of you who are listening, either on YouTube, Facebook, on the Zoom, good to meet you. I work for a company called Tap Send. We focus on moving money from the West into Africa. And my main focus in life now is to move all the capital, or as much of the capital as possible, from the West into Africa and Ghana, where it's most needed. And I spend a lot of my days, a lot of my time doing that. I do that for Ghana, I do that for a number of countries too. And we work very closely with Nana, and that's Chief himself, and also the Ghana Union and the High Commission and everybody else who is involved. Kwame said a lot of things which I think are very, very important and go to the heart of what we do, both me as a person and also as a company. So crowdfunding I'll come to, but there's the very sheer fact of moving money from the West into Africa or from the West into Ghana is very important and crucial in helping us as a country. 4.7 billion ended up in Ghana because of the work that you are doing. So if you can hear the sound of my voice, you are part of that group that managed to put $4.7 million into Ghana. That's dollars, that's not cedis. And to give you a kind of a sense of the scale of that, that is more than 70% of all of the foreign exchange that Ghana gets. Okay, that's huge, because Ghana as a nation is an import economy, which means that we import everything, which means that we need more foreign exchange than we get into the country. Now, remittances and moving money into Ghana is very much an export, it's not an import, which means that when remittances get to Ghana, there are dollars getting into Ghana, which is very much the opposite of buying car parts or buying curtains from Turkey or buying building materials from different countries. Remittances and moving money to Ghana is definitely an export, and it helps us balance the imbalance of imports and exports in Ghana. So you are all playing a massive role. We are playing a massive role. Pat yourself on the back and say, look, well done for helping the economy of Ghana. And it's so crucially important that you continue sending money home. I know I don't have to encourage you and tell you how important it is, but I'm just giving you the scale of what you are doing for Ghana as somebody who lives in the diaspora who is sending money home. I believe we would always send money home because that's why we left. We left Ghana so that we can move money back home to support our parents, support our family, supporting. So we'll continue doing that. But the scale at which you are doing it as a people is tremendous, and it's great to see. And I want to commend you for the good work that you're doing. Now, without your contributions to Ghana, Ghana would not be where it is, because the key thing to also say is that the money that you are sending to Ghana is going into the hands of everyday people. Everyday people. It's buying medicines, it's paying bills, it's paying school fees, it's buying food, it's clothing people. So this is running the economy, and that is a lot of income and a lot of funds in the hands of everyday people. And Ghana appreciates it, and we appreciate it. So 4.7 billion, keep that in mind, that the diaspora moved into Ghana. It's a big amount, and it's a huge source of foreign exchange. And how have we done it? We've done it thanks to the work of Kwame and his team, right? So, I mean, international money remittance, I can also say, I mean, this is not verified figure, but a huge portion of that, more than half of that 4.7 billion is being moved by digital companies like ours. So I mean, you know, I can name some of them. There is us, there's Startup Send, there is Sendwave, there is UnityLink, there is a lot of other companies who do focus on digital transfers, which we focus on, right? And more than half now, so which means that the tide is swinging, right? It's swinging between people who are sending cash, who are putting money and actually collecting cash at the bank. It's swinging gradually to a place where it's digital only or digital focused. It's going to mobile money accounts, it's going to bank accounts, which means that the Bank of Ghana also has oversight, right? Because the more we stop doing swaps. So when I came here 19 years ago to London, I used to send money to Ghana, right? There's a guy called Isaac, different kind of Isaac, where I call him, he lived in London, and you give me his bank details, I'll put money in his account. I used to live in Birmingham. And he would get the money to Ghana for me. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what was happening. I don't know how it worked. I just knew that when I call Isaac on a Saturday morning and said, I have to transfer money, he'd tell me, yeah, put the money in my account. He would charge me, I think he was charging me like £5 for every £100 I put in his account, right? That was expensive, right? And the money got to Ghana. It was fast. I trusted him. I knew him, and I got used to him, and that got better. But now we are in a world where everything is digital, and people are now transferring money digitally, and we are moving money more digitally. So I think well done, and encourage your friends, encourage your family to use more digital services, because that directly comes under the oversight of Kwame and his team, and also the Payment Services Division and the banking supervision guys in Ghana. Because with regulation and with the oversight that is given, it means that you are protected as a customer. It means you can feel confident that when anything untoward, when bad actors do things that they shouldn't do, you are protected somehow. Now, if you don't use digital means and you use means that are not digital, the chances are that you are not under the cover of Bank of Ghana. You are not under the cover of the regulators. So therefore, you are opening yourself up for all sorts of things. So let's continue helping build digital services, continue using the likes of TapTapSend, and others to send money home, and it would help build the economy. And I think this year, I have said this, that more than $5 billion would get to Ghana this year through remittances. And that's a bold forecast I made at the end of last year. And I think Q1 is looking good already, right? As in the first quarter of the year is looking good. And I think if we keep pushing hard, given how tough things are in Ghana right now, and given how much we need Ghana to have more money and more foreign exchange, now more than ever, I encourage you to send money home. I encourage you to support people. I encourage you to start that project that you're thinking of, okay? Start that building that you're thinking of. Now is the time to do it, because the government and the country, in fact, the people, the everyday, we all need more funding in Ghana, more resources in Ghana to develop Ghana. So now more than ever, please send more money home. There are 4 things, very quickly, where our research tells us people use money for when money gets to Ghana. And those 4 things are: 1, they send money for subsistence, right? So people need money to live. They need money to buy things, so subsistence. And that will surprise you. That doesn't form a huge part of transfers, even though that forms a huge part of transfers. I wouldn't give you percentages. That's a huge sum. It's a huge part of transfers. Then there is people send money to save, which Kwame talked about. And savings right now is they save either through bank accounts, or they save with other different things like Susu and things like that. People send money for savings through their own unions and cooperatives. People then send money to pay bills, as in by paying bills, they're buying something from a shop, or they are purchasing something, or they pay school fees, or they're doing something like that. And then people send money to invest. Now, the last one, investment, is probably the lowest. Currently, our data tells us less than 4% of people send money to Ghana to save. Now, that data is different for the rest of Africa, where, like Kenya, for example, that percentage is a lot higher because their SACCO system is a lot more advanced. And people, even though they are sending to save, the SACCOs are also investing. So therefore, a SACCO is a savings and credit union in Kenya. So I would encourage you that if you are not sending money to Ghana to invest and you think it's not the time to do it, it's a good time to do it, because those 4 things I've mentioned, whilst they are important, actually, the economy needs a lot more investment, and the economy needs a lot more savings, given the savings reserves that we have as an economy right now. And I would encourage you, yes, send more money home, but send more money for investments, and send more money also for savings in whichever form. And that would really help the economy. And those are the 4 things. I would want to commend the Bank of Ghana, and commend the local fintechs, and commend the commercial banks in Ghana through who we are able to work. So you probably don't know how money gets to Ghana, right? It's one of the only things that makes me really proud to be Ghanaian, is that as an international money transfer company, you cannot send money to Ghana without working with a local fintech or a local commercial bank. You need a banking partner, which is great, right? Because you can't just say, oh, it's not about whether you have plenty money, or you have technology, or you still need the approval of. You need to use an approved fintech in Ghana, which means that the Bank of Ghana would have gone through the process to say, we are happy with that fintech. And also, even beyond that, we're happy with the product that the fintech is doing. So it's really good to see. So that has meant that our work with ZPay has been supremely important, right? Our growth as TapTap Send in the last 3 years has been primarily because we've not had to do anything in Ghana. ZPay has done it all. Right. And Andrew and his friends at ZPay have made it possible for us to be able to grow our business. And by doing so, we have also grown his business. So we are creating jobs in Ghana by helping Andrew grow helping ZPay grow their business. And we are also growing our business as a result. And we are helping you move a vast amount of money into Ghana. I wouldn't tell you how much of that 4.7 billion we moved, but we moved a lot of it. People, you'd be surprised if you knew. I wouldn't say that because it's confidential, but you'd be surprised if you knew how much of that 4.7 billion we moved. And it only hit me as a Ghanaian like sometime last year. So I chose to do more things in Ghana because it felt like, look, we are really a very intrinsic, huge part of this remittance industry in Ghana. And we aren't really a visible player. But if you look at the numbers, we definitely are a huge player, and we are grateful we are. And we'll continue investing in Ghana. We'll continue engaging with the fintech office. We'll continue engaging with banking supervision. and we'll continue engaging with the local players in Ghana to help to move more money into Ghana. I'll touch on crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a difficult one for us because I want more people to use Send and other digital services to crowdfund, right? What we don't have, though, is we don't have control once the money leaves our hands, right? And we don't have any next step connections into what people do with the money when it gets to Ghana, which is what Kwame talked about you don't know what happens when you put the money together. So we see a lot of groups come to us and say, we want to send money to Gay Girls Association, or we want to send money for this or for that. And we facilitate those transfers. But once the money gets to Ghana, we are relying on the local entities in Ghana to help us police how that works. So I would still urge that be cautious of sending money to associations, because we cannot do any due diligence checks on the associations. We cannot do that. The best we can do is make sure that the money is not being used for terrorist activity. So be careful what you fund, be careful what you put your name to. We have something we call one-to-many and many-to-one sending. So regular money sending is from one person to another person. So that's one-to-one. So I send money to Nana Kwesen, His Excellency Kwesen, and that's a one-to-one sending. And normally, the local fintech would do some checks on Nanat, who is receiving the money, to make sure that he's not on any sanctions list or any blacklist that he shouldn't be receiving money. They also do a check on me before I send the money. So it's all clean, right? Now, when the person receiving the money becomes a group, that's no longer a one-to-one relationship, because one is a group, two, there is many of us in the diaspora sending money to that one group. So that becomes a very complicated thing for us to check. And our regulations and our compliance require that we know what the money is being used for. Now, when we start to see that this one group, this one bank account in Ghana is receiving funds from 50 or 100 people, it flags in our systems. There's an alert in our systems to say something may be going wrong. You need to investigate this, maybe money laundering, maybe something, we have to do checks. And it's mostly quite difficult to check if it's a WhatsApp group. So churches and prophets in Ghana do this quite a lot, where they encourage people to send them donations, offerings through Send. And we pick it up and we look into it. And sometimes we go as far as send somebody to go and visit the church to make sure that it's an actual church and it's not some guy sat in this room getting people to send him money, because that's called honeypotted, where you pretend you are somebody else and you get money. So be cautious, but it is one very good way of being able to contribute, because there's no fee on Send. You can send 100 Ghana easily without a fee. You can send 50 Ghana, you can send 30 Ghana. So you can be part of lots of different contributions and lots of different groups. You can do that, but just be cautious that we as Send don't have control once the money gets there, because we can't KYC and double check the person who is receiving the money. The Bank of Ghana and frankly, the both payment services and fintech office, I don't know how much control they have, and I'll love to comment on that. But Romeo and his friends at ITC are doing something great with Chango, and I've not seen many platforms like that, but I would encourage definitely Chango, and we are talking to Romeo about directly integrating into his app and because that seems a bit more organized than a random WhatsApp group with lots of people on the group and you not knowing who receives the money. So please approach with caution, but it is the one way to build our country, and it's also one way to make sure that we move that 4.7 billion we did last year to far more than 5 billion this year. I will pause and I'll take questions. I have discussed a lot, and I have mentioned a lot about the way transfers work, what is flagged, what is not flagged. I've commented a bit on what Kwame said, and I've also encouraged all of you to continue doing the great work you're doing to help bolster the economic development of Ghana. I'll go as far as saying the economy of Ghana in this dying, desperate times needs you more than it ever did before. And we will continue to make it easy for you, but we also need you to trust that, look, your money is going great places, and you want to put more into it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abraham. Thank you. I'm going to make a quick decision here. I've seen Romeo Bujay on the platform. I would like him to be invited to explain how Chango, when's the money, if people contribute, as Amauto said, 50p here, 10p there, how do you police it on the ground to make sure the money is actually put to the causes that it was sent for? Do you have any plan in place? Because Mauto has made it quite clear the difficulty they have and the challenges when monies are sent, and how to get to the final bit of it. I'm sorry you didn't know about this, but it's part of the conversation, and I will be very grateful if you can explain what do you do as Chango that Mauto is trying to talk to you to make things easier, because we're all interested, but we need to know the finishing product from all of this.
Okay, thank you very much, Payson. Unfortunately, where I am, the internet is not very good, but I'll try my best. So what Mauto said is very true, and I think Kwame also made mention of that. So what we are doing with Chango, for instance, is to create that assurity at the other end in terms of money that people send home, being able to have control over what you are doing. So for instance, if the example that Mauto gave in terms of a church where to be sure that it's actually a church, Bank of Ghana insists that we do KYC on any organization that is set up on Chango platform for crowdfunding. So as you know, Chango has two options, that is the public group and the private groups. So for the public group, because you are collecting money from the public, we are expected to KYC everyone that is allowed to sign on. So if it's a church or a school or an organization that is seeking money from the diaspora community or within the country, we KYC them and we ensure that they are registered and the money will go exactly to where it's supposed to go. In fact, for the crowdfunding aspect, all the money goes to a bank account that has been agreed by the sponsors. And so that is taken care of. For the private groups where individuals comes in, I think Kwame also mentioned about the governance. Chango has a very good governance system that governs the money that is used. So if individuals come together to raise money, maybe for their school or for a family, some people have family educational fund. Some people are building, helping build their family homes. So these individuals who come together could have a policy that governs how money is taken out of the platform. So they could say that only 25% or administrators have to approve, but everyone on the platform is notified anything that happens there. And if anyone disagrees, you can just go and cancel it. And then the process restarts. So we ensure that at the other end, monies are going to the specific places that they are supposed to. So let me give you an example of a family that some lives in the UK, some in the US, and some in Ghana, taking care of their mother in Ghana. Before Chango, they send the money to one person in Ghana, and sometimes there are confusion about it. Now they all pull the money together, and then when they have to buy the medicine, the money can be pushed to the pharmacy directly. If they are paying for school fees, it goes directly to the school because they have the school account. If they have to use it for any specific thing, they would have agreed on it. And by that, they are able to vote as to when the money is supposed to leave. So the administrator could raise a cash out, as we normally would say, and then the others that are required to approve it, approves it. So when we finish the integration with some tap send going through the regulation, what will happen is that with your tap send, you can actually do your contribution directly to Chango. You see the money on the platform. You have the ability to decide how the money is used and the destination where it goes. So it doesn't go to an individual. So not like a P2P, it doesn't go to an individual and the individual then determines how the money is used. But together, you all take the decision and then you police the money and then it is used for the purpose for which it was collected for. So when you have all students, and quite a number of all students unions are on the platform and are using it to do projects in their their alma mater. So they do competition to raise funds, and maybe they are building a library, and then the money is used for that purpose. In fact, there's a family also that is using it to rebuild their family homes. And specifically, if they are going to buy cement, they will send the money to the cement company that is they are supposed to collect it from. And so the money doesn't go to an individual who then goes there, but we'll ask you to bring the mobile wallet of the individual or the bank account, and the family members then vote to make sure that the money actually goes there. If you think that that is not what was decided on, then you can cancel it, and the whole process start again by convincing individuals to do what they are supposed to do. So as a company, we are enhancing international money transfer, not just in this environment, but also for pensions, for investments, and so on and so forth. So maybe I'll pause here, and if there are any other questions, I'll pick it later.
I have a question for you at a later stage, but we'll take a second break. I'm sure you all have dry throat. Get some water, and we will assemble all our speakers so we can go through the questions. We'll be back in a second, please. Thank you.
Araba, there are some people at the door. Go and tell them I have traveled to Russia.
Yes, Daddy.
Where's your father?
My father said I should tell you he has traveled to Russia.
Your father has killed me. I sent him money from America to complete my house for me.
Are all student association contributions?
Even the money from the fundraiser for Kweku surgery.
Oh! He too? Don't be a victim. If you're contributing to a project, alumni dues, or any public campaign, Chango is your best choice. Chango keeps track of all donations and gives you the power to know exactly where the money goes. Chango is approved by Bank of Ghana. Call 0270-066-614 or visit changoapp.com for more information.
Uncle, my father is hiding under the bed.
Oh, Araba.
Chango for your groupings and crowdfunding.
Hello? Oh, my son is Canada dada. And then he left go menu. My son, this is a setup. He was Spain. Oh, yes. Spain was any secret free. Ha, Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a member of a baby family. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, also, don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on tap send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe. You can send your money through tap send to Ghana, and please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a clan talk. Reggae man of a pack. It's tap send.
At Diaspora Insurance, we understand the importance of dignified send-offs within Ghanaian culture and traditions. We also understand that you want to avoid the double trauma of your family grieving and not having the financial support to cover funeral expenses when you're not around. With our Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, you can now cover yourself or your family in Ghana or abroad. With no medicals required, we'll accept you if you are under 75 years. Visit our website today or call us to complete a simple form in under 5 minutes. With Diaspora Insurance, your peace of mind is guaranteed.
Okay, thank you so much. Welcome back. Tonight, we've gone through how to crowdfund, some of the safest ways to send your money, and the organizations and companies that we can use, such as Chango, on the ground that can make sure your contribution can be put to the right uses. The people, the fine gentlemen that have spoken tonight are experienced in what they've told us. We've had education from all of them, and I believe we are going to be better informed when it comes to our decisions. We've been privileged to be supported by IT Consortium and Chango, who are helping us deliver to you this program. Also, with the help of TapTapSend, TapTapSend, your #1 money transfer company to Ghana. And then, of course, Diaspora Insurance. We do this at a cost behind the scene that most of you don't realize. So their support is very great. And we can reach out to people on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course on Zoom. Those who want to be watching from YouTube and Facebook, just log into Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum. All the IT work is being done by Access Media. Access Media, if you need their contact, they can do all sorts of initiatives for you and help you better your business, better your organizations and other things that you are keen and interested in. Ghana High Commission is supporting this project so that we can deliver to you as a Ghanaian Union Community Awareness Forum from the diaspora. People have logged in from every part of the world. There's no unreserved access to people who want to log in. And I'm sure there are people who are not particularly in UK and can still enjoy this educative program. We want to bring our panelists back to the screen if we can and have a bit of conversation with them. So Ms. Nana, Mr. Romeo, if you can be brought as well to support us, because I've put him on the spot. Normally I'll give him notice, but that's occupational hazard when
Romeo is well prepped and ready. He's a pro at this. He's been doing this before we all came. Yeah.
So thank you for your contribution, Romeo. Right, we have 2 hands up, and I'll get them to ask their questions before I bring my own. Felix, please. Felix has a question and he's got his hand up. Felix.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
I'm Felix Bar from the Netherlands. As if I understood the speakers, how to call it, we are contributing about $4.7 billion a year concerning our remittances, representing 70% of foreign exchange, and expecting to be even beyond 5 billion this year. My question goes alongside our remittances. That is, if you look at the current situation where our government is struggling, negotiating our foreign debts, chasing IMF for a bailout of 3 billion. My question goes to Mr. Opon. Is the Bank of Ghana trying to at least encourage the government in setting up a diaspora bond whereby we could invest in foreign currency, let's say dollars, and then be able to get this money back in dollars?
Thank you. Mr. Pong, if you want to.
Thank you very much. That was a very interesting question and a good idea. To be honest, I'm not aware of such an effort, but there is a diaspora office at the Office of the President who's been coordinating many of the diaspora events, initiatives, etc., including even the Year of Return, which has turned out to be one of the quite interesting, and successful activities now on a global roadmap and a global calendar. But this idea of a diasporan bank is something that we have Ghana International Bank, but for a different purpose. But this idea is a bit different, and perhaps I'll take it as a note and share with the leadership of Bank of Ghana to see what their thoughts are. But I really appreciate such suggestions. I think it demonstrates the level to which people are paying attention and also thinking through how they can contribute, not just in financial resources, but in intellectual resources as well. So thank you for that question and contribution.
Thank you. Yes, Mauta, please, if you want to add to it.
Yeah, I mean, I would add to it. I'll say, Kwame, we would shout loud and very proud as diasporans to say it's a request that Bank of Ghana should look at, right? I mean, I think that's in the whole Bank of Ghana, because we struggle to encourage people to send money to Ghana to save, because when you send money to Ghana via any of the rails, any of the remittance companies, you can only redeem your money in GHS, which is in Ghana cities, right? Which is a tough currency to hold. So people don't really want to hold that currency, but people hold domiciliary accounts in Ghana, like they hold a USD account in Ghana, for example, and they ask us, why can't I send my pounds to my USD account? But I'm normally quite blunt. I say it's against the BOG rules, right? So you can't do it, right? But in other countries, you can. I mean, some countries have gone the completely opposite way, like Nigeria. You can't actually terminate in Naira. You have to terminate in USD, which is, for me, I thought it was a bonkers idea. And I don't know if CBN would change, if the CBN would change, but I have the pleasure of working with other African countries and I see them. And I'm sure based upon me, you do the same thing. You guys copy from Kenya, you copy from or you learn from all the other central banks. I say copy, wrong word. But in other central banks, in other currencies, in other governments, you are allowed to terminate in other currencies. I'm not saying let's go Nigeria way, but I'm saying there's possibly a halfway house. And Felix, you're not the only one who's asked this question. Like, we get this question a lot at TapTapSend. Why can't I have this money go straight into my dollar account in Ghana? So it's something that Bank of Ghana probably has to start discussing and seeing whether there is enough consulting on it, I think. And we'll be happy to provide some data and help provide some support in the policy thinking, because I think if policy is to change, it's probably not going to happen right now. It would take like a period of time for it to happen, but it's a policy thing, and I would love to add my voice, Kwame, for you to take this to the table if possible. We can help with it.
Yes, and perhaps let me also chip in a bit. So I think from Felix's question, he's looking at being able to move the funds to Ghana, but also keeping it in USD. So I think there are two ways, looking at having a diaspora bank outside Ghana and also perhaps having something in here. Interesting concept. Just generally, I think the idea of countries encouraging the usage of foreign currencies within their domain have implications. So that's why you see some countries a bit cautious. I saw today that Zimbabwe is taking a certain decision. Look, various countries have different economic situations and try to see what works for them. But I think we're at a point in society and the journey of an economic journey generally where we now need to also continue to rethink things. So perhaps while some of these ideas might not be implementable immediately in its form that is suggested, there are people in the diaspora who have they have accounts before they left. And people in the diaspora who can set up local accounts. So linking that, what are the concerns, what are the risks? This is where private sector players such as TapTapSend, commercial banks, IT consortium, and the fintechs in the space can actually start thinking of various ways of addressing the concerns that we may have and working with us around some of these things that some fashion, because I think the point that is being raised speaks to needing your money in Ghana and being able to preserve the value, if for nothing at all, right? And perhaps even beyond that, even also being able to invest through your accounts in Ghana. So interesting ideas, but again, I'm taking note of all of this so I can share with the respective stakeholders within the broader central bank.
Thank you. I wanted to ask this question. It might be a bit naive, but have any of you thought about how you can have a presence in Ghana, especially those companies we send money through, right? I mean, TapTap and all the other ones. I would say TapTap, but whoever uses whatever, where if I send pounds, I can get to Ghana and collect pounds if I want it, right? Because the trust for me on this side is using your service. And when I get to Ghana and they tell me there's no money and I can't get the money, then what happens? There are situations that are going on that people's money are locked up somewhere. So have you looked into how in the long term, You can have diasporans signing up to you in a not to become another bank, but a way that they can keep money with you and take it when they get there without government interfering in how they use that money or how they take it out in here and there. I will be, if you have any thoughts on that, that would be helpful.
Well, I would add my voice and then I'll let Kwame speak. I think this is exactly what Kwame was talking about, that the policy doesn't allow that right now. So I would love nothing more than to have a wallet on TapTapSend, and that wallet is accessible, a bit like Wise, right? Where you can access your wallet in Ghana as well as in the UK and in the US, right? But right now, holding value in the TapTapSend account is not a permitted regulated activity, because anything that has to do with money and holding money specifically is a regulated activity. And TapTapSend does not have the regulatory power to do that. And I don't think any other international remittance company has the backing to do that. And there's something that I would love to do. I mean, I think I asked the question a couple of times. I think I asked Nancy, or I asked a few people in your team, Kwame, about it, even recently, to say, when is this coming? So it'd be good to hear your thinking on this, because this is interesting, definitely is. And I think there is private sector support for it, and we can definitely do some work together on this, because I know it's not just me. I know a number of other players in the space, and we talk, and this is something that people would love to have. And I'm sure His Excellency, His Royal Excellency, when he gets to his large palace in Ghana, he wants to give out foreign currency like
like Nigerians do.
Like Nigerians do. Exactly.
Well, not with pounds, that's for sure. Okay, thank you.
I will come to comment. I'll be good to hear what Kwame says about that.
Sure. No, thank you very much. I think, again, one thing that we all know is that the consumer's voice is the voice of God. If you haven't learned this from the business world, you will learn this as a regulator. But often as well, there's a dimension to this that nobody looks at. And this is where sometimes the work of a regulator can be very unpopular, because it's only until something happens that you see the reason for some of these controls. So this is not specific to the inability to have foreign currency locally. And actually, to clarify something, the remittance channel, your money can never be locked up. Doesn't happen, shouldn't happen, from how it's designed. You send money through TapTapSend to a fintech in Ghana. If it gets into your wallet, it's in your wallet. I think you're making reference to scenarios where perhaps you have USD in an account locally, and now you want to go and withdraw, and the branch says we don't have USD. I think those are different circumstances. It's a bit of a different case, right? It's that if you're not mindful, whether it's TapTapSend or anyone else, because remember, we regulate activity. Ideas, capabilities, etc. is one thing, but the activity is another thing. And therefore, the same rules that are being applied to those who provide the services currently being the banks will wind up being applied to you. So unfortunately, if such a situation is likely to happen, it would be just as likely to happen to other service providers as well. If, for instance, there's a shortage of dollar in the economy, every other player in the economy that is allowed to provide a dollar account will be impacted as well. That's a reality. Secondly, you also have to remember, when it comes to taking money and holding it, internationally, there are implications for that, because it's great when the service is going well. But regulators are the only ones who have to step back and prepare for, should it not go according to plan? What type of measures are in place? Because let's face it, I think you all saw when Men's Gold was happening, everyone who was involved in it wouldn't listen to even the central bank. But the moment it failed, the picketing and the request for support was also sometimes aimed at the central bank. That tells you that often our goal for protecting consumers is because even when it doesn't really concern us as much, people look to us to see how we can intervene. And these are the reasons why there are prudential regulatory mechanisms intended to make sure that your money is safe. But generally, to the idea of being able to send money and hold locally, I think today, depending on which service provider you're using, and as I can see, His Royal Highness probably is looking at some much heavier values. You may want to engage a local bank and see how they can help you so that your remittances can go directly into your bank account. It would have to be in cities though, because that's what currently is available. But again, as I mentioned, as as things evolve, if there's a potential to be able to do these things safely within our jurisdiction, that's different. In Nigeria, when you saw that dollar payout getting encouraged by the central bank, it wasn't because they suddenly had a different idea. I think you saw the challenge that was happening in the economy, where the crypto flows were beginning to grow a bit too much, and other challenges. So not only were they asking the MTOs to pay in dollar, there was even Naira for dollar, where if you receive remittances in dollar, on top of that, they will give you Naira for free. So that was a policy response to a challenge that was being encountered. And as to whether that is a long-term plan of the government, I think that is something that we would all see over the long term. So I think different markets are different, and perhaps some of these things can wind up having a much more detrimental impact if we jump into it. So that's why we're cautious. And we're all Ghanaians. I think the idea of being cautious is important.
Thank you. I'll go to those whose hands are up. I've got lots of questions, but I'm going to be giving them the first call. Evelyn Terrier, please. Evelyn, if you're still with us, unmute yourself and go straight to your question. Please, no background story. Let's go straight to the question.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm still here. I'm calling from Accra. I'd want my question to Mr. Opong. And I'm glad that you actually you're the head of the FinTech and Innovation Bank of Ghana. I'm just wondering, because you've just mentioned cryptocurrency in Nigeria. I'm just wondering what Bank of Ghana is doing in that respect, in the FinTech area of blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. Is there any projects with the Bank of Ghana? Have they got any ideas? Have they got any plans of doing anything with that technology?
Okay, so I think in terms of cryptocurrency, we have put several notices out, and we have made it clear that as it stands right now, it is not legal tender. Frankly, it's not legal tender. But we also recognize the fact that, one, blockchain has the potential to add value, not just in the financial sector. The idea of a distributed ledger technology is quite powerful and will likely be part of our social and economic future. On the other hand, though, if you look at cryptocurrencies more broadly, there are cryptocurrencies or tokens that are used for different things, NFTs in the art world, tokens of attestations that basically certify what I am as an entity, for instance, or an item in an Internet of Things type arrangement, and several other tokens that have nothing to do with the financial sector. But our concern is around the issue of recognizing that without a proper framework in place, if you're a bank or a payment service provider, if you get involved in some of these without the proper safe rails in place, you could likely find yourself in trouble. Look at the volatility of, for instance, Bitcoin, Solana, Dogecoin, and all these other tokens within a very short period. If you're a bank and you, for instance, go and wind up holding on some of these virtual assets, what is the implication to your finances and your balance sheets? Secondly, even some of the partnerships that made, or the commercial partnerships to facilitate the transactions that are not well guarded, they could have an implication on our broader payment system and financial sector. So we're being very cautious to make sure that, one, we're experimenting, studying it to understand the dynamics fully, to be able to put a comprehensive policy position in place, but two, in the meantime, to be very cautious to make sure that we are not stampeding entities in our jurisdiction into utilizing something that they may not fully appreciate. And then finally, let me ask you this. For every 5 people that you meet who say in Ghana, who say they are involved in Bitcoin, have you not noticed perhaps only one of them actually have a Bitcoin token of some nature? They are probably, involved in a multi-level marketing scheme, unfortunately. So if it were only those who understood exactly what they are doing when it comes to the issue of digital assets, virtual assets, etc., that would have been a different problem. But we have to also take account of the broader economy and the broader consumer body, where people who may not know what's happening are following a trend, and they don't understand why someone has offered you 10% a month on a Bitcoin investment, and somehow it has failed. Bitcoin itself was declining within that period. So it's a matter of taking into account safety and stability of the overall ecosystem and learning from best practices around the world, including what the US government is saying right now, that they need to take an all-government approach to be able to address it. I would ask you, for instance, that should Mauto send me cryptocurrency, or if he owes me money and he pays me in cryptocurrency, and there's an issue, if I go to the police station, if I go to the courts, what is the likelihood that this issue would be able to be dealt with in an expedited manner with a full appreciation of what's happening? So you have to look at the idea of an entire government-wide preparedness to be able to even consider introducing those things. But what we've tried to do is, as a fintech innovation function, as a broader central bank, and even the Securities and Exchange Commission, look into some of these things to understand what it would mean for our ecosystem and continue to work with it. I think you saw the founder of Ethereum, one of the Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin in Ghana recently. He met with the central bank, he met with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and there's always an engagement going on, believe it or not. But it's a matter of when we come out to say, this product is safe, that means consumers everywhere within this jurisdiction should be able to use it without the risk, at least with the minimal risk of unexpected outcomes. And so it's an assurance that we're giving, and we have to be very careful before we attempt to do that. So it's just about being responsible. Thank you.
Thank you. I did ask the first question about that money because 2 weeks ago, I was on my way to Ghana. A Ghanaian man was stopped at Heathrow with £14,000 in his pocket. He could not prove where the money coming from. It was seized, and he's now battling how to get it. It turned out to be a friend gave it to him to send to Ghana. So let us all be mindful that the days where we put money to people to take to Ghana is almost ending its dates. And you don't want your money to be confiscated, and you probably won't be able to prove where you got it, because some of you have saved the money under your pillow for so long, and you've just gathered it all together because Mr. Kwesi is going and you're giving it to him. If you get seized, don't come to my house because it's not my fault. So use platform that can help you. Mr. Romeo, I want you to talk us through Chango. One thing I want to understand is, one, how does Chango itself, does it only work for those of us in diaspora, or anybody in Ghana as well group can do it? And what are the process of going through a registration of Chango app? If you can just talk briefly before I go to those whose hands are up. I've got a few questions in the chat room as well.
Okay.
And you did also say that one person out of the group can call a shot and stop the whole initiative if they don't believe it's going to the right direction. I think your line is even frozen now. So I may have to move on to someone else. But I'll come to Romeo at a later stage when he can get his line back. Felix, your hand is up again. I think we've spoken. Do you still have something to ask?
Yeah, I just, how to call it?
It has to be brief so I can go to
Yeah, exactly. I just want to go back to my question. My question was about diaspora bond, not bank.
Right.
That we can, from here, buy government bonds in foreign currency and be able to get our interest and money back in foreign currency. That was my question.
Right. So,
okay.
I mean,
sorry, I think I got disconnected. So
okay, Romeo, I'll come back to you because
yeah,
we've
thank
just
you.
moved on to somebody else. Okay. Kwame, if you can be brief on that, please. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you very much. So I think there are Eurobonds, which is basically a variation of a bond that is not issued locally and not in the local denomination. And there have been several issuance of such bonds around the world. But for Ghana, by Ghana, but I think to your point, you're looking more at one that is targeted at diaspora. I think that's a very interesting idea. And again, I think I'll take note of that and share with Bank of Ghana and Ministry of Finance.
Thank you. There's another hand up, Mr. Adesoya. We've lost Henry Esilfi. I'm not sure if you can come back, but Adesoya, you've got your hand up. You ask your question, and I'll go back to Romeo, please, for those two questions.
Thanks very much. I'm sorry I came in late, so I'm really asking this question without listening to the presentation. The question that I wanted to ask is that if a group of us want to crowdfund to raise money to go and set up a community bank in Choco, what would we need to do?
Okay. I believe that goes to the Bank of England, Bank of Ghana. I'm used to England. Bank of Ghana, man, Mr. Opon.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Adi. I think in terms of such a scenario, it's less about the crowdfunding part and more about the requirements for setting up that community bank. And so you should probably go on the Bank of Ghana website and look up the requirements for setting up such an institution. In fact, there's information about how to set up all the institutions. If you're actually having challenges on the Bank of Ghana website, there is a chat button there called Akushika. It pops up whenever you go on there, and you can just put in your question and it will lead you right to the specific page where that information may be, so that you can get the information you need to set that up. Get information that you need to set up an institution of that nature here in Ghana.
Okay, thank you so much. Right, Romeo, I did ask you to talk us through Chango. I'm keen because as TapTap sends the money, you will be in a better position to probably collate some of them and put to a good use, and you have the men on the ground. So how do one go a group, for instance, if I have a group called Ghana Nurses Association, they want to set up Chango account. What are the process, the what and the how?
Okay,
and also
thank you
you
very
did
much.
mention in an earlier presentation that one person out of 400 members can call the shot and bring the whole initiative to a standstill. How is that justifiable?
Okay, so if an example that you gave could be considered as a private group, wherein members of an association come together to raise money for a specific work that they want to do in Ghana. So the members could be across the world, but the money will be used in Ghana. So the only thing they have to do is to go to changoapp.com, download the app, and then set themselves up and then set up the governance structure around it. And that will allow for how money is disbursed and on the app. On the issue of if one person maybe blocks the chance of cashing out, it is also a decision that has to be taken by the group to determine if somebody is doing this, can the group vote to be able to kick the person out because he's not obeying the regulations that have been set up in the group. So it all comes around to governance that the group agrees to. And the way the app works, when you are joining the group, you are presented with the conditions that governs the group and you accept. So when you accept to be bound by those conditions, then you are expected to do that. And then the group can take a decision as to how you behave. So for private groups, everything is in the hands of the group members, and they determine how things work out there. The aspect of the collecting money from the public. So for instance, maybe an NGO or even a school decide to set up a project that they are going to collect money, not just from their members, but from the public. Then it is our responsibility to vet that group before the group is set up on the platform, and then they can receive money. And that one goes directly to a bank account that has been set up with the group. And so nobody can actually go in there and cancel anything, because that is governed by crowdfunding policies. Unlike maybe a GoFundMe, where individuals can go and set up a GoFundMe account, we don't allow that on our platform. We allow only registered entities vetted to be set up, so that we avoid money laundering and then people just duping one another by just setting up a fund on a public platform. So there are two options, and that is what I can say about it.
All right, thank you. There's one chat room question which I believe I should say, and I can imagine we'll go to Kwame Opon. I used to send money to my account in Ghana with Unibank, but I heard it has been shut down. What happens to my money then? This is something very heartbreaking. But before you answer that, I'm going to call, so you take note of that, Mr. Opon, please. Henry Silfi to ask a question, so we have two running at the same time to save time. Henry or Silfi, if you are still with us, unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
Good evening, all. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Question is to Mr. Kwame Opon. One of the nice suggestions that was made was about investments in the diaspora, right? And if you look at us in the UK, we would like to see other diverse investment opportunities. But given the current climate in Ghana, can you give me any reason why I would invest my money in Ghana, where I have even the government cannot guarantee my investment, right? Why would I move from here, where at least I have some level of surety, to an environment where even the government cannot guarantee my investment?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a laudable question. All I do know is that FSA guarantees only £85,000 in a single bank account. So if you have 5 million sitting in one account and the company goes bust, you can only get £85,000 back. But I'm not talking for Ghana government. And Mr. Opon is not here to advocate for Ghana government either, but he may share his idea. So please.
So thank you very much. And I think that's the point you've made. I'm not here to discuss neither GIPC nor Ministry of Finance. I'm a regulator. My job is to make sure there's safety and stability in the ecosystem. But I think one of the motivations in the central bank's mandate includes contributing to economic development and the policies that we put in place, for which reason our goal of promoting fintech and innovation in the financial sector is also expected to help drive some of that economic development. But I would say that economies go through various cycles. This is not unusual to Ghana's situation is not unusual to the world economic history. And so as an individual, you make your investment decisions based on information before you. And in every condition, you may see people exiting, you may see people entering. And so you make a judgment as to what really fits your interest over the long term as an individual. And I do not, I'm not as a Bank of Ghana representative, have the capacity to make investment recommendations for you. The other point that I wanted to mention, the gentleman who's had his money, I think the account closed in Unibank. So I suppose they've been out of the country for a while or haven't operated the country for a while. There's actually a dormant account process, which goes from, even if the bank is still in existence, right? It goes from your account being active. If there's no activity for a certain period, they move it into dormancy. And at some point, the account, any interest on it and everything else is sent to Bank of Ghana. So we take custody of it. And should you return at any point in time, because we have all your information and which bank you stayed with, you can come to Bank of Ghana and identify yourself appropriately with the information that is required, and you get access to your money. This is something that is not just available for banks, but even for mobile money wallets. It's actually in our laws, and that's something that we've been doing for a very long time. So I think they can rest assured.
Thank you. Adelaide Saki. Oh, it's okay. Mauto want to add to it, please.
Yeah, I was going to add to the first point. Whilst Kwame is a regulator and cannot speak openly about investments, I can. I'm a private citizen with a private business. And what I can say for certain is that I can say that it's still a good time to invest in Ghana. Maybe not in financial products, but my friends and people who are sending money through TapTaps, and even this week, people have talked to me about, oh, I want to invest in some fish farm. So now is the time to actually diversify investments in Ghana. So I'm a big advocate of investments in Ghana. So if you can't be certain of guarantees of interest in financial products investments, actually, I would encourage you to consider investing in other things in Ghana. Probably now is the time to buy some land if you have some money. Now is the time to do something. I'm not saying go and do those things, but there is a myriad of things you could be doing, which are also investments in Ghana. Now is the time to even support your local rice seller to set up some gobe shop. It's time. Like there's still things you can put your money to, as long as you're certain that you've checked it out and it all works and stuff like that. I think it's probably, Paul Mante and his friends are not having a good time, but other things are definitely a good time to invest in Ghana. So think about that.
All right, Mauto, while you're here, there's a question about, does TapTap have intra-Africa transactions? Or do you only take money from those of us with pounds and dollars and what is it called? Euro and yen and the rest?
Well, I say I want to do intra-Africa, but as a business, you focus, right? I'm brutally focused on moving money from the West into Africa. I think there is enough work there. And the more you lose focus strategically, the less you can do and the less effective you are. Intra-Africa is incredibly difficult because we have tried to do intra-Africa, you need something they call an outbound license. Actually, you have to be able to take money in Ghana and pay it out too. And our good friends at BOG, I've talked to them about this a while. They don't, there's no license. They don't allow that to happen just yet, right? I'm sure it will change. There's one bank, I think, that's allowed to do outbound, but most fintechs and most of us are not allowed to do it just yet. And this is a good time for me to poke Kwame a little bit to say, Kwame, come on. This is the question that we keep being asked. And I went to Nigeria to get an outbound license, right? I went to Cameroon to get an outbound license. I went to South Africa to get this is all work that I've been doing in the last year, right? And other regulators are very open to the idea. There is caution, clearly, but we need to work to open Africa up. So transfer of money between Nigeria and Ghana costs more than transfer of money between UK and Ghana, which is crazy, given that I can put the money on a plane and carry it across. And maybe it'll get seized, like your friend, His Royal Highness. But Kwame, I think this is definitely a point for you to take back about intra-Africa would work if the central banks in Africa, not just Ghana actually, worked together to allow regulated fintechs, and there's some good fintechs out there who have been here for years, like Romeo has been doing this for many years, who can be trusted to police and do it safely. So Kwame, this one is for you. I'm going to firmly say, actually, you can make this happen.
Thank you.
Perhaps let me make a quick comment on that. So, as you know, in fact, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat is right across from my office. And being that it's in Ghana, that tells you how we look at this. The idea of intra-Africa trade and its associated transaction flows is very important to us as well. There's a huge trade corridor and financing corridor between Nigeria and Ghana, for instance, which interestingly surpasses some of the European corridors. I think it really comes down to, I'm not sure if you're aware of some ongoing initiatives, but there's already PAPs, Pan-African payments. So we're looking at it more from the payment level so that people can pay and receive. So SMEs can be able to make payments and receive payments from across the continent. It recently got open. There was a whole effort around that. It was actually piloted. And to do that, you have to partner with a bank because it leverages the banking rails. Also previously, the existing framework that relies on SWIFT has always been available, but of course with a cap of 10,000. And then I think you also have to recognize that in some markets, the economies are structurally different. And so they are more able to withstand the idea of outbound versus some countries. I think there were some comments made about the significant imports dominance within our economy, and things like that make a big difference. So you have to be careful. It depends on what monetary policy framework you're using, and these are things that you have to be careful how you go about it. But to the point about making it possible for fintechs, etc., already there are some banks who are allowed to do that intra-group. So you've seen products out there today that allow that, but now there's PAPS, and PAPS allows you, even as EMIs, and EMIs, by the way, are mobile money players and payment service providers, to partner with banks to leverage PAPS to send money to make payments cross-border.
Thank you very much. Adelaide Sakifio, please. Adelaide, if you're still with us, unmute yourself and go straight to your questions so we can spare the next 5 minutes to round up. Adelaide.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm speaking from London. I just want to find out about the Chanco, if it works with an individual project. For example, somebody is in Ghana building for you, and can it work, or how can I channel money through that to the person? Is it possible?
So Chango.
Yes.
Romeo, please.
Exactly. So what it will mean is that in Chango, a minimum membership for a group is 2. So you can actually set up a group with this particular person, where when you put money there, you manage, and then payments are approved by you. So that is possible.
Oh, thank you very much. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is this man, I believe he's a man, but forgive me if you're not, but it's called Gilbert Nkatia, saying that he doesn't know how to raise his hand on the Zoom. So you might want to speak instead if you're still there. Nkatia Gilbert, I don't want to miss you out with your question if you're still there with us. If you unmute yourself, you can actually speak instead. Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, yes, thank you.
Okay, I want to ask Kwame some question. One difficult thing I've seen is opening an account in Ghana. It's still, I know he's in charge of fintech, so open account, there are a lot of fintechs, inventions or innovation that we can use to access the KYC and also help the banks open account quickly, and mostly not too much of paperwork, physical paper. If you look at Ghana, how to open an account is so difficult and so very, very not encouraging to open an account. So are they thinking of having a very good way of making all these paperwork? Still, if you are in UK, you want to open an account in Ghana, you have to fill a paper form to be posted to Ghana or sent by somebody physically to be delivered to a bank in Ghana, which is very archaic in my opinion. So are they looking into a better way of doing this? Because where we are now, we don't deal in paper, but still they are able to verify the person.
Okay. So
that's my question.
Thank you so much. On that note, can I add this to it? I did hear this story about if you don't have Ghana card, you can't open an account. You can't. What's that all about, Mr. Pong? People traveling by air with aeroplane with what's it called, passport, can no longer until they get Ghana card. How do you
sorry, the last part of traveling by air, can you clarify?
What I'm saying is we can fly internationally with passport, but then when you get to Ghana, you have to have Ghana card to open an account. How does that work?
Okay. So this is a very interesting discussion.
I'm just adding to the first question the gentleman did ask.
Yes. In fact, it connects to everything else. Over the years, the government has been looking, and it's actually successive governments, right? There's been a steady effort to digitize the economy. And in doing that, we have recognized the need to fundamentally change the nature of our public infrastructure. The first time I opened an account in Ghana, I had to draw the location to my house. Just telling you, is that something that is actually effective? Should you want to find me as Kwame Opong in where I live? Absolutely not. Functional IDs in most parts of the world are okay for certain level of authentication, but you have to recognize that there's a need to have a single source of truth. That if we say by that, this is Kwame Opong, that is Kwame Opong, unequivocally. The other public infrastructures that are important to drive some of the things you're talking about would be interoperability, payment consent layers. Those are things that I wouldn't want to talk much about. But these are things that over the last perhaps 8 years, 9 years, have been steadily been worked on. That's how come you see the Ghana card itself having gotten to the stage of prominence that it is. Even Ghana Post GPS addressing system, which however you feel about it, it was not going to be possible for us as a society to blanket the entire country with formal addressing system. We can't, particularly when you go into certain neighborhoods. In one place, there are multiple shacks and kiosks and the rest. How do you identify people? So the idea of a geospatial grid-based system that says, here's a location based on this unique code to find that person, whether it's for delivery of items, or it's for identifying location for where a person lives, it's practical for us. We have to leapfrog. Similarly, when it comes to the ID, there's a national, there's a SNITS ID. There was a driver's license. Which other ones were they, right? So there's passport, which obviously is a different context. But remember, these are often functional IDs. The Ghana card is taking 5 fingerprints, 2 irises. Sorry, 10 fingerprints, 2 irises. Very secure. And it's actually going to be and should be the foundational document for which in future will actually give you access to get some of these functional documents. And so it's unfortunate during the transition periods, you'd see some of these challenges, but it's very important over the long term. So that to the question that he asked, why can't I open my account that easily? Today, in our laws, we've actually included electronic KYC so you can authenticate yourself remotely here in Ghana to open an account. That leg has been taken care of. Now, obviously, not every bank provides certain services, and the journey is different from every service provider. Perhaps Bank A, B, and C are focused on their domestic clients, and that's a different matter. But the journey that we're traveling right now, you should expect that over the long term, authentication is going to be done much easier locally, even in instances where you don't have your card in front of you. Just with your biometrics, you can authenticate yourself and access financial services, just as you see in India and other countries.
All right. Thank you so much. We are running near to our time, but there's one hand up, Galaxy S9 with no human name. If you're a Galaxy S9, which I'm sure many people do, your hand is up. Please speak so that we can take you as a last question. Galaxy S9.
Another question, this is Mr. Sima.
Mr. Sima, if you named yourself, that would be nice. But yeah, you're here now.
Yes,
nice to see you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. In addition to the question you asked about the ID card system opening accounts, those of you who are in the diaspora and we use the foreign passports, and I go to Ghana and I want to open an account, what is the situation? What is the formality? Do I still need to have a Ghana identification card? Even though I'm a Ghanaian, but I'm a foreigner, because I hold a British passport. What do I do? Can I open an account? Can I withdraw money from my account? I have an account there already in Ghana with money in it. How do I withdraw my money when I go to Ghana next time?
Thank you. So he's got account. He doesn't have Ghana card. If he happens to be in Ghana, how does he get his money? And if he's not in Ghana and with no Ghana card, what happens? Also on that note, can I just ask this question? How much advocacy do you fintech groups do on our behalf as diasporans? 4.7 billion we ship to Ghana every year, and it's probably going to increase. And yet we are the last group of people that our government thinks about when it comes to things that matters. You are not politicians, and I don't want to put you in that category, please. I am fully aware of that. I just wanted to know, do you have any consortium where you can also stand up for us in terms of decisions? Or is it just a matter of do as you're told? Mauto want to.
Let me maybe save them first.
I was going to add to it before coming talks. I'll say at least make a. You should be laying red carpet for all of us, the companies who are helping bring this 4.5 billion in as well, 4.7 billion in. Make us cup of tea, rubber bags, all of those things. So add that to your list. I'm listening.
Because it breaks my heart to think that when it comes to Ghana Card, we are the last to be considered. When it comes to voting, we don't get a say. Everything that makes Ghana great again, if not already great, we are the last to be considered. And yet we are the one that is funding the economy, looking after children, looking after paying school fees, doing all that things. And it breaks our hearts with diasporans. We feel like we are cheated somehow. But I wouldn't want to put you in a political position because I will have those ones at a later stage here with me. And
But let me perhaps answer the first person's question. And I appreciate the clarification that I'm not a politician, I'm a civil servant. And so this is above my pay grade. But I think, again, there's a diaspora office. And from what I see on the news and their involvement, even in some of these remittance type activities, they are quite active. And so let me say the fintechs are quite vocal in advocating some of these things. To what extent it relates to other things outside of the fintech space is a different matter, because obviously they're a business. And so things like voting and the rest may not necessarily be on their radar as much. But when it comes to being able to simplify getting in what remittances in and the rest, even formulating this policy, we had to work with the industry to ensure that your voices, your realities are captured and factored into the formulation of policy. And then finally, to the gentleman's point, question around being Ghanaian, but also being a foreigner. These questions are a bit more complex, as he may have set up the accounts when he was fully Ghanaian, or subsequently, it depends on the timing. But whatever the case is, foreigners are able to open accounts in Ghana as well with their foreign ID. But as Ghanaian, we all have friends and family and relatives who are in a bit of this situation. And I think there's a bit of a legal position that says once you're originally Ghanaian, I think you're actually still Ghanaian, and you can get access to a Ghana card. Please, if you come to Ghana, get a Ghana card. It's in your interest long term. Because you see, we have to be able to get to a point where as a society, we are able to know who is who and is where doing what. So that when it comes to development, we can understand the problems a bit clearer, know what the solutions should be, and know who needs what kind of help, and be able to channel national resources in a more effective way. So please, I'll entreat all of you. I can't speak to the voting matter, but at least as it relates to financial services and access, please try to get a Ghana card whenever you're in Ghana, visiting friends or family or just vacationing. I didn't
want to be emotional, but leading a community that has issues of this nature, sometimes it makes you want to speak. But I know the people I will bring them to do that. And please, I'm sorry if you felt put on the spot. This is not political platform, so I am fully aware of that. Unfortunately, time is up. I've got
we are all behind you. We are all behind you. Diaspora. Behind you.
There's two more hands up. It's gone past 9. I don't want to hold this man after a long week, but if they will allow me to let those two speak, then we can round it up. But I don't know. The panelists, are you happy with that? Those two questions that I have, please. Ismail Aderi. Please,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please, we are up with time. Go straight to the point and clear with your questions so we can answer it. After you, it will be Noble. Straight again, the same rule applies.
Okay, with this question of Ghana card, the man did not clear the air. The lady that asked the question, they say that when we come to Ghana, we are not able to access our funds because we don't have the Ghana card. What are they doing for us so that when we come without the Ghana card, we can still access our funds before we will use some of the funds to go and open this or to go and get this card? Because this cards aren't free. Trust me, you have to pay before you get it.
Yes, if I may answer that, please send money to yourself or to somebody before you go. And when you arrive in Ghana, go and get Ghana card. It's not the best of the answers, but this man is not the one that decide what happens to Ghana card. Please let us accept that they are here to give us information about fintech and not government policies. On your way to Ghana, as I do, I never carry UK currency with me in Ghana. I always send my money in advance and I pick it, give it to various people that I can trust. And at least 2 of them will definitely turn up with the money.
Well,
and I can use one out.
Well, I can
add. Of course, I will use Tango now. Yes.
Yeah. Also, you can use Tap Send, right? So
Yes.
I've been using Tap Send whilst in Ghana, and I'm back in Ghana next week. I'm going to go live for Kwame next week. I'm going to come and say hello, Kwame. I'm telling you now, so you know I'm coming to find you next. And when I'm in Ghana, you can pay for things using your Tap Send card because of the APIs with the mobile money networks and the fintechs. You can actually put a mobile number into Tap Send and pay for your taxi, okay, or pay for your for the merchant you're buying something from, or pay different things. So, right now, I think I would also urge the Ghana High Commission to hasten the process of getting diasporans Ghana cards because it's long overdue. We were promised September and then we were promised December. So, Nana Question, I know you have influence. So let's use that influence to get our diasporans Ghana cards whilst we're here. I think that influence will go far. And Kwame, I know you are in lots of different meetings where we are not. So wherever you sit, we would urge you to kind of advocate for the diaspora more, think about us more, because we get a lot of responses, but most of the responses are when you come to Ghana, do it. But some of us, we go to Ghana once a year. We've got 10 days in Ghana. If I have to go in queue to do Ghana card, that's a whole day gone that I can't use. And that's a diaspora voice. So I will champion the diaspora voice again, but to the lovely gentleman, use Tap Send to send money when you're in Ghana.
I've brought the chief executive or whatever the title is for Ghana card here on this platform before, Mr. Atifa. Is he Atifa? Oh, yes.
Atifa, yes.
Yes, he's been here before and he's talked through a whole lot of things. It's been going on since 2020 and we are 2023. So it's quite frustrating for some of us who have to answer these questions behind the scene. But anyway, we wouldn't go into emotions of it. We will leave it as that. Mr. Noble is a staunch member of this community audience. Please go ahead with your...
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in. It's just to comment on the gentleman who saying that he cannot collect money with a foreign passport or whatever in Ghana. I have an account in Ghana. I was there last year. I can use my British passport to collect my money from bank. It's a matter of just going to the bank and getting yourself identified as the right person who holds that account. You can collect your money. Also, you can, by virtue of being in Ghana, as I did, spend about a day and get your Ghana card. So these things are not difficult now. As I always say, if Bawumia doesn't become president of Ghana, for centuries to come, all sensible people will applaud him for digitalization. All the things he's done for Ghana, put politics aside, that's the most important person we have had within this century. He's done a great job by enforcing.
All right, that's a bit of campaigning. Let us.
It's not even campaigning, but it's a fact.
I understand, but
the future of Ghanaians.
Let's not go into what's important. It is. We has brought digitalization. Yeah. We understand that others have brought infrastructure. Others have brought factories. So let's know names. This platform is purely to ask and add to questions.
No, I'm not politicizing at all. But that's what I've always said. I think what they've done. How can you be in a country you cannot be linked? Nobody knows you. You grow up there, come to Europe here, you are known. In Europe here, you are identified. But back home in Ghana, we are not. So it's a good start, no matter who starts it.
Thank you. I am cautious because on this platform, we try to stay away from politics so that when we invite them, they feel free and at ease to come. I have no interest in any party. I have never voted and probably will not. But I want to make sure this platform is free so that whenever we invite any other, politician to come, they will not feel like they don't belong here. So that is the reason why I try to keep away. But Mr. Noble, your question is, your contribution is valid. Digitalization has brought us closer to each other more ever than before. We can now even call Uber in Ghana by sitting in Kukrentum or some village in Western region that I come from, and Uber will turn up. So that is part of digitalization, and we agree is making an impact. Thank you so much. At this point, I think at 9:10, it will be my voice to say thank you, my panelists. Mr. Kwame Opon from FinTech, head of FinTech in Bank of Ghana, who have given us a whole ideas about this. We are going to be back here, I believe, in 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks time, depending on the schedule of our panelists. And this time we'll be talking about securing Ghana passport and how the new premium passport service is all about, how to go about it. So when you get the information, share with your friends and family and let them come and listen to it. We have Mauto Abraham, the head of Africa growth in Tap Send. Mauto, we are grateful for your presence. And of course, Romeo Vijay is also the head of IT Consortium and Chango. These are men who are promoting our work. While they are in Ghana, they are still supporting us to reach out to you. And we are grateful. Thank you very much. And Mr. Pong, thank you for your time and expertise. You've left work, I believe, and join us. Everybody else has, but at least you are a special guest. These two are my they have obligation to be here, so they have to.
Well, we have no choice. When you call, we listen.
Thank you,
Mr.
Paul. Thank you for being here, and we hope that you have a restful weekend.
Thank you very much.
We'll be in touch again. To audience, we are grateful for your time. Please use Tap Send, use Chango, and of course, Diaspora Insurance. This program has been delivered to you with the support of Access Media. Access Media for all your IT needs here. If you need organizing an event, they are here to help you. Of course, Ghana Union is the champion of getting this event together with the support of Ghana Nurses Association, the Ghanaian Western Region Association of Nurses, and Ghana Nurses of Association in the Nightingale area. We want to thank you for your time, and we'll be with you again, I believe, in 2 to 3 weeks, and it will be about passport. On that note, have a restful weekend and stay safe, be well, and good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Araba, there are some people at the door. Go and tell them I have traveled to Russia.
Yes, Daddy.
Where's your father?
My father said I should tell you he has traveled to Russia.
Your father has killed me. I sent him money from America to complete my house for me.
Are all student association contributions?
Even the money from the fundraiser for Kweku's surgery.
Oh! Too? Don't be a victim. If you're contributing to a project, alumni dues, or any public campaign, Chango is your best choice. Chango keeps track of all donations and gives you the power to know exactly where the money goes. Chango is approved by Bank of Ghana. Call 0270-066-614 or visit changoapp.com for more information.
Uncle, my father is hiding under the bed.
Oh, Araba.
Chango for your groupings and crowdfunding.
Hello? Oh, my son is Ghana the dada. And then he left home, menu. My son, this is a setup. Who was Spain? Oh, yes. Spain was any secret free, huh? A Ghana. Yet we love you. It's 11 and as a member of a baby family. Oh, that be my son. Would you check your phone? Why? It's very easy now to send money from anywhere in Europe to Ghana. I'm in Spain right now, and I just send money to my mom. And on Tiasia, Also, don't send it, don't take e-levy. No, on tap send, there's no e-levy charge. It's just free when you send. Those in the US, those in London, those in Canada, plenty places in Europe, you can send your money through tap send to Ghana. And please, it's free of charge. There's no deduction in any e-levy or any charge at all. So what are you waiting for? Send the money to those family people. Me must send it. Let's go and take a clan talk. Reggae man for a pack. It's tap send.
At Diaspora Insurance, we understand the importance of dignified send-offs within Ghanaian culture and traditions. We also understand that you want to avoid the double trauma of your family grieving and not having the financial support to cover funeral expenses when you're not around. With our Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, you can now cover yourself or your family in Ghana or abroad. With no medicals required, we'll accept you if you are under 75 years. Visit our website today or call us to complete a simple form in under 5 minutes. With Diaspora Insurance, your peace of mind is guaranteed.